day to you. Welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. I've already sent out a blog about the topic we're going to cover today. And the topic is screen time. Screen time. When I mention screen, I'm talking about television sets, television screens, computer screens, laptop screens, and recently smartphone screens, tablet screens, and even smartwatches. Those are what we're going to concentrate on, particularly the dangers, possible dangers that screens generally have on our well-being, and more so for our kids, because it's important that we are not just doing things that are damaging our kids. Now, I've done a lot of research, obviously did it so that you don't have to, and there doesn't seem to be anything conclusive right now. There's data, but just not enough data to make conclusions on whether spending too much time staring at a screen actually has damaging effects on our health. Nothing conclusive, mostly common sense is what I'm reading from some of the sites that I've visited. And I've visited many. And most of the sites that I've visited, I will put their links in the description so that you can engage with them. Very useful information. But the information I'm finding is quite conflicting. Some say there is, some say they're not. So in my head, I don't think we're going to be able to make any conclusive statement, whether it's good or bad. We're just going to make assumptions and then do things. Some of the tips that most of these sites have recommended that should help, whilst the research continues behind the scenes. Now, as I do, I always share facts. And some of the facts that I've found on some of these websites is that spending too much time on the screen causes depression. It causes obesity, addiction, isolation, etc. Doctors have gone on to say the following, that watching TV or going online within an hour of bedtime should be discouraged. Yeah, I read it from some of the sites. The Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health say that parents should set good examples to their kids by controlling their own phone use in front of their children. We'll talk about that because that's quite a sensitive area. And in the blog, I mentioned this and touched on this a bit. Other experts say that it is important that the use of devices does not replace sleep, exercising, and time with family. And these are all common sense things, they're not things that are out of the world. They're just common sense. And so we're going to, discuss that as best as we can. The fact that there's no evidence that there's a public health issue, there's a damage to possibly the eyes of our children and things like that, it does not mean that you and I in this community should not have a view or try to work out what's best to do for our kids. And I extend it to kids. You notice I'm focusing on kids because that's my passion. But it comes back full circle. It affects the family. Anything that affects the kids affects the family. So when I say kids, I'm not eliminating or saying it's not important for the parents. No, I'm saying our focus must be on our children, and that will drive what we do about it. Let me share some more facts from online surveys and studies that I picked up. They're saying that children are getting screens earlier. So the screens are coming to them earlier than it used to be in the past. The average age now to get a smartphone for a child is 9. 9. Wow, no longer 18. I throw that away. But 9 is just too early, in my view. But it's what it is. And then this one was quite disturbing. It says parents are worried that their kids will be socially damaged if they don't give them a phone. So you can see how much of a tough spot the parent is in. No phone, I'm going to be damaged for life. Give me a phone so that I can live again. Some parents are certain that screen time has a negative impact on the performance in school, performance in sports, and that it is dangerously addictive. These are all facts that I've picked up. I was so chuffed to see, like we have spoken about in our other videos, that the government are doing something about it. In fact, shame on me, I should say, I learned a bit about the Children's Commissioner or the Children's Commission. They're doing a fantastic job. You know, I think so. I hope that you will feel the same when you click on the link in the description. But there's particularly, and I'll share it later on before we end this video, but there's an initiative that I want to share with you that I believe will transform, at least make inroads into transforming the way our children and us engage on the internet. So on the Children's Commission website, there's some questions that the commissioner, Anne Longfield is her name, has posed that may get things or get, the discussion going. And the first question, which I ask you to engage and talk to your family about, is your family screen time under control? So you're basically making an assessment. Is your family screen time under control? The second question is, does screen use interfere in any way with what your family wants to do? So does spending time too much looking at a screen interfere with what your family wants to do? Does screen use interfere with sleep? Okay. Are you able to control snacking? Little eating and all that, every now and then binging, during screen time or screen use? See, some of it is common sense. The lack of physical activity, in my view, and exercise can lead to weight issues. You don't move, you grow, get bigger, especially young children. I know, reading from the Children's Commission, that this is a public health concern. And I'm so glad that it's being driven from the very top. And so we're going to have to, try and get our minds around what we must do. When you answer those questions, you find that there's so much you can change. And thankfully, the Children's Commission, they introduced a digital 5-a-day initiative that makes a lot of sense to me. On the fruit side, when we talk about our health, because the body is a temple, as you know, keeping your body well is no different from keeping your mind well. There are obviously many other ways we know how we want to, inform our minds, renewing our minds, as we all know. But this initiative introduced by the government makes a lot of sense, and it's very basic. And the 5 things that they have written down for the 5-a-day: 1 is connect, 2 be active, 3 get creative, 4 give to others, and 5 be mindful. I'll repeat them: connect, be active, be creative, give to others, and be mindful. And I'll quickly browse through what those 5 things really mean. To connect, as I read and looked online, connecting. If we want our time online to be refreshing, so you're looking at a screen, but you're also doing something productive, is why not introduce your older folks, grandma and grandpa, to Skype. I saw a young boy who was trying to promote this for his own audience, younger audience. I think it's Simply Luke. I'm sure it is. I'll put his link in the description also. But he was encouraging the young folk to engage on a digital 5-a-day diet. Awesome. Just get them doing something else so that they're not just concentrating, for long hours doing nothing like they do when they play games. And that's the concern I have. So connecting, rather than spend time doing one thing on your computer or screen, smartphone, whatever, you just engage. So you connect your mom or your grandpa who is across the pond and introduce them to Skype. Do something that will just break the trend of spending too much time looking at the screen. That's connect. Be active. I've already spoken about it. Sitting in front of a screen will no doubt will affect your health. I'm certain of it, especially if you're doing a lot of other things like eating and all that, as we've mentioned, snacking while looking at the screens. These things can come and can become damaging. We don't have proof, but we know it's possible. So being active, why not choose to do a sport? You know, there are lots of things to learn, or learn an instrument. You know, go outside and do something that's related to the internet. That just means you just take a break. That's being active. Getting creative is the third. Getting creative. I'm big on creativity. Smartphones has I'm not going to say it, but it has taken away the beauty of going outdoors and doing stuff, but getting creative without necessarily just doing one monotonous thing. You can create a website. You can create a forum that allows people to come and engage with you online. You can do a lot. The internet is beautiful and it can be used to do these things. And if you do it, it stops the monotony of just looking at a screen. The fourth is giving to others. You know, there's so many initiatives out there that need some sort of momentum. You could decide to go and log on to someone's website and encourage them. If the content is useful to you, you can encourage them. So you now give and not just want from the internet. You give your time to others. And the fifth and the last, and it's by no means the least, is be mindful. And that's where I come in. You know, how to protect our engagement online. What are the things we can do to prevent our children from being exposed, even ourselves? How do we prevent it? You know, be mindful. Listen to advice from your elder siblings who've been out there and seen how it's damaged them. Do not ignore. I'm now speaking to the young ones. Do not ignore the advice. You may think that they're showing off, but no, they know the damages that spending too much time on screen can cause. You know, so I love the initiative by the Children's Commission. It's so beautiful and impactful, I believe. You know, Anne Longfield, the Children's Commissioner, also mentioned that we should set boundaries. You know, you wouldn't just allow a 9-year-old walk down a busy road. Yeah, think about it. You give him or her all the advice possible. So you equip, but you have to set boundaries. Phone use is the same. If a child has a smartphone at a young age, he or her needs to be aware of the dangers, you know, associated. They need to be aware. You know, a mention about sleep, how screen time affects sleep. If it is affecting sleep, meal time interaction, diet, and exercise, then try and make a deal. You know, it might be that the phone is not used at dinner time, on the dinner table, or in the bedroom, or before breakfast until homework is completed. It's a fair deal. You know, our kids may suggest that it's odd, it's awkward, but you mean well. It's done from a place of love. As long as they understand that you're doing it for their benefit, then there's no rigidity. They just flow, you know. And then, as mentioned, we've got to also consider our own use of phones and devices like that. As a parent, we must consider our own use. We need to demonstrate good behavior. We need to show that we want the best for them. So we, you know, rein in our own usage, and the kids learn. And they don't have. Imagine a kid telling you, "Why should I stop using my phone? After all, you use it." You'll be lost, you know. So the government are doing something, and that excites me. I'm so excited. I'm not in any way suggesting that we should live in a nanny state, but it's important that things are done from the top, because if they get it right at the top, it will cascade down, and then they'll be more open to ideas. But it needs to start from the top, and I praise and Longfield and her team for the great job they're doing. I wasn't paid to say that, by the way. But seriously, you give credit where credit is due, and I think they're doing a good job. Some more tips to help encourage parents even further. Prioritizing sleep. A well-rested child is more in control and able to think and discuss than a tired and irritable one. Again, I'll put the links in where I've picked that little fact up from. But these are just common sense things. You know, a well-rested child will interact better. He or she will not be grumpy, you know. And it's important that we do it and let them know that that's why we want them to reduce their time looking at the screen. But we must be wary that the advice we give, the surveillances that we put in place, do not drive our kids underground. And by that I mean they don't start becoming secretive and keep things bottled in. It's important that our children feel, I've mentioned this before, that they feel they can talk about issues. Some other tips that I can share that may be unpopular for some kids is that parents should supervise the devices that their children use until they're 16 years old. And I'm certain you and I will be the ones paying the bill until they're 16, or when they can make some money or have enough pocket money to pay their bills. And so because you're the bill payer, you are accountable, and you must show that you are accountable. So if a child wants a phone at 16, you control everything that's on it. And if you can't control it, then really you've lost a major opportunity. So you make it a condition, for example, of them having the device, and that you help them use it sensibly. I've mentioned parental controls, and you can look up, I think the link will show up, where you can go and watch that video on parental controls. But apps like Custodio, it's one that I've just found that is so good. Slightly expensive, but it does the work. You know, and I vouch for it. So any app that can give you, a parent, the control over what the child does whilst accessing the device must be a good thing. Certainly, it must be age appropriate. Staying on the front foot, you must give them advice before you give them a device. So you set out a contract of use. I found some agreement templates. Yes, believe it. The agreement templates that you can strike with your child. Do this and you get this kind of thing. It's laughable, but it works. And it may work for some parents or some families, and it won't work for others. But importantly, it's a step in the right direction. I mentioned in the parental controls video that I mentioned, that is on that link, that Google have provided a digital well-being dashboard that will allow you see how much time you're spending on your phone, which will mean that this is what you're doing. How much time are you doing this? And you have a dashboard that will give you a lot of, a very big picture of what you're doing. And it gives you options that you can choose that will hopefully help you manage your time and manage the time that our children spend looking at a screen. I do know that Apple have screen time that does something similar, and we must explore that. But these things are there to reduce the amount of time that we really do spend looking at a screen. Most game consoles and computers include tools that restrict how the particular gadget is used, or rather how long the gadget is being used for, and tries to advise you to limit how much time you spend on it. And we must take those things to heart. Finally, there are apps on Apple, Google, Facebook, and others that help monitor how much time you spend on various programs, and so as a parent, you'll be able to set hard limits so that no network access is, done, or you don't have that time, too much time spending chasing things that you don't need to chase. You just measure, spend time here, move, spend time, move. And those things are really useful. I really hope that our time together is beneficial for you. If it's not, it's certainly for your children. And I'm hoping that you gain all this knowledge so that your children will be better for it. I've mentioned enough times that each week we spend time on things that are trending. And I know that in the public space right now, ransomware is on an increase, and ransomware is as bad as it has always been, really. And for those who don't know what ransomware is, ransom should be a clue. But basically, you have someone, a rogue, who doesn't mean you well, managing to deposit some bug, or sometimes it's a worm, but basically a bug, onto your computer. And that could be via email, via USB drives that you plug into your computer. It could be anything. And then you plug it, so you get the email, click the link and all that, and a bug is deposited onto your computer, and it gives the remote rogue access to your computer in such a way that he or she will encrypt all the data on your device. It could be a phone, it could be a laptop or a computer. And by encrypting it, it means for you to get access into the computer, you would need to decrypt, because he or she has encrypted it, so you need to decrypt it. But to decrypt it, you need some key. And to get the key, you've got to pay a ransom. And sometimes it's thousands, sometimes it's not, but it's money. You don't pay the money, you don't get access to your computer. And if you don't back up your computer, imagine the horror. So the advice is simple, that we must know, don't click links you do not know. So that some emails you receive from friends that you don't recognize, do not click any links. In fact, do not click a link you do not know. If possible, you can phone to ask if this link was from you, from one of your contacts. Do not click a link you do not know. And some of these bugs also come in through USB sticks. You could go and download stuff onto your USB drive. Do not do anything rogue, or bring anything rogue onto your computer or your USB stick. You must know what you're doing. The advice is simple. Anything you are not sure of, do not touch. Certainly don't pick up a USB stick you found in front of your door and assume, oh, my child must have left it. That is bad. Some rogues will purposely put a USB stick in your view so that you pick it, think you've gotten a bonanza, plug it into your computer, and boom, all the baddies flow into your computer. So don't do that. No matter how desperate you are, certainly don't pick up or use a USB stick that is not your own. Okay? I really want to repeat the PowerPoint from last week. That wisdom is the principal thing. That in all you're getting, get wisdom. This is wisdom. It's on this platform. We're sharing it as community members. And through this wisdom, you will move from strength to strength. I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem. See you next week. Goodbye.